Shane Jones.
Kia ora no tātou, Mr. Speaker. Sir, just to bring the former Speaker up to speed, the bill she was actually referring to has already been dealt with. That bill pertained to the leaky homes problem, and I can assure you that everyone who spoke from her side of the House actually had less to say than she did. Sir, I recall, a number of people have suggested that the Building Act ought to be put into the furnace. Now, sir, hold on, that's Aaron Gilmore. He used the word funereal pyre. What he's actually referring to is the struggle that he and Paul Quinn are going to have to get hold of the lifebelt. And as they sort of are thrown off the sinking ship of Te Rōpū Nahinara, of course, Sir Paul Quinn will say, I need to get there because I've protected us from the prisoners that I enabled to vote for a while. Sir, and then Aaron Gilmore will say, I need to get there because I'm the cleverest financial analyst that's ever come to Parliament, etc. But that's Kate to Pie because Sammy Wong and his hovercraft, they'll save both of them.
Point of order, Aaron. Order. Points of order will be heard in silence.
Look, I'm mildly offended that Paul Quinn is being treated in such a poor way, given he's not in this House right now.
Well, the Mayor has actually breached a standing order ruling anyway, that is reference to the absence of people from the House. So I actually feel that we should just get on with the debate. Shane Jones.
So this piece of legislation is about reforming the Building Act. Now, I'm not entirely sure, sir, whether it's going to relate to sow crates, but I can see a minister over there who has ruined the agricultural portfolio, worsened the liability of the Crown, and incurred an inordinate debt as he sought to offend an important religious community in New Zealand who actually just want to go about their lives and eat kosher meat, and he's introduced some foolish regulation. But, sir, I'll come back to that another time. The man is a walking liability, sir. He's probably endangered the larger meat trade. But, sir, the term head and meat tend to come together when one looks at him. Sir, this bill is an improvement in terms of what took place and what a number of us on our side of the House, too late in the part, I might say, endeavoured to arrest. Sir, this bill, which is why a number of us have spoken enthusiastically tonight, and why 10 minutes, at the very least, is required to elaborate as to what the bill actually means, given that there's no one on that side of the House who's either read it or, sir, just keep all your energy for the life buoy. Well, in your case, I better say seatbelt. However, sir, I come back to the bill. There are going to be 4 new categories of building permits. So because a lot of building activity in New Zealand, as I sought to do for the period of time that I was there, they shouldn't actually require a permit of any sort. There are some very modest, insubstantial building activities that ought to be carried out, providing the person is a credible and qualified tradesman. Why on earth should ratepayers, sir, be blighted with the costs of having to deal with permits and consents that are of a modest nature? Which is why, sir, the schedule that was passed 2 years ago actually allowed for certain building activities to be exempted. And, sir, I must say that this bill continues slightly in that vein, and it focuses the attention of decision makers on where risk really lies. And, sir, councils ought to be concerned about those projects where the risk is of a very substantial and significant nature. Councils, sir, won't be issuing certificates of compliance. They will be issuing completion certificates, sir. And that will reflect the fact that when a person makes an application, the process has been completed. Now, what it says, sir, owners have a responsibility. Owners have a responsibility to use not only common sense, but act as investors and owners of property and find people, sir, that are qualified and reliable. Bring a suitable level of responsibility onto the applicant and onto the person who actually is going to own the property. And then, sir, sheet home the responsibility to those such as the designers. These fools that bought, sir, Mediterranean-style housing, cheek and jowl, into New Zealand, have got off largely scot-free and have concluded, sir, that they're no longer liable, they're no longer responsible. But, sir, this bill will provide for the liability that they should face to be borne by them and ensure that the advice they give, sir, is consistent with the requirements of the building code. Now, sir, the building code originally was a permissive experience, but it got far too liberal and problems emerged during the period of time prior to the Helen Clark government. Our response, as my colleagues have said, was a very heavy-handed response, and we're all agreeing that this bill should go to the Select Committee because the pendulum most certainly needs to swing back to a place where people aren't overwhelmed by too much red tape, and neither are they paying absurdly high levels of fees to the council when the problem that needs to be managed is of a very simple nature. So an important part of this lies at the heart of your average Kiwi citizen's experience in owning their own property. That's the owner-builder exemption. Now, sir, earlier, sir, this was a matter of some debate. How do you actually allow the average Kiwi do-it-yourself, Carter Holt, ITM friend, keeping those businesses in regular cash flow by going down there and wanting to improve and actually enrich the value of their property? So, sir, this bill will allow that to happen. However, where, sir, activity requires a high level of skill because you may be actually impairing the integrity of the building, so there will be an obligation on the owners of the property and the people doing that work to ensure that there is a suitably qualified person. Now, without a doubt, sir, that won't pertain to skyline garages, garden variety, straightforward, I won't say ticky-tack, but modest dwellings, sir. Those things under this bill, I do believe, can happen with a great deal of speed. So the difficulty underlying all these changes is that the building industry is on its knees. The building industry is losing talent and qualified people to Australia. The building industry is not able to raise the necessary levels of capital because the buying market, sir, has lost confidence. And in addition to that, sir, although population changes are taking place and geometrically the number of people requiring new dwellings, new residences is they're actually increasing, the difficulty, sir, is that the supply side is constrained. Indeed, in some cases, it's static. And that really is the deeper problem. Recently, representatives from the building industry said to the Prime Minister Key that unless he was capable of bringing forward an intervention, there would be no building industry left. Now, sir, the big end of town got taken care of. The Fletchers, etc., they've been given a lifeline through the role that they're playing down in Canterbury. But, sir, the essence of the building industry are the people with perhaps with a four-wheel drive, 2 or 3 largely blokes, a dog on the back, some simple tools. That basically, sir, is the garden variety, everyday Kiwi enterprise in the building industry. We are losing them because there's a fear or there's a complete unwillingness on that side of the house in terms of the economic policy to inject capital, confidence into this sector. Somehow, sir, they imagine that the hidden hand of Adam Smith is going to rise and cause, sir, economic activity to enjoy a greater elevation. That's not going to happen, sir. And there are going to be more apprentices turned away, sir. There are going to be more difficulties, and we are going to watch a greater drift of our young people to Australia. So the challenge, sir, is you created enough liability for the Crown, Mr. Carter. Not only have you enraged the most frightening Aucklander, Michael Stiesny, who we know you now require a handheld experience served by Crown law to avoid any further liability being incurred as a consequence of your delinquency on the part of the Crown. Michael Stiesny is coming for you, sir. Make no doubt about that, as a consequence of you enraging and alienating that valuable part of the religious community of Auckland.